So we're going to take a look at WBCS main, some medieval Indian history WBCS main question paper, and from 2014 to 2021 onwards, all these questions we're going to take a look at as fast as we can. So the mains question paper 2021, which was the earliest seat of the Turkish power in Delhi? The earliest seat of Turkish power in Delhi, 1052 to 1060, Quila-i-Rai Pitora. Quila-i-Rai Pitora. Quila-i-Rai Pitora. This was the place where they established themselves in power in Delhi first. Quila-i Pitora. Moving on to the next, how were foreign merchants referred in Chola documents? Foreign merchants are referred to as Nanadeshi. Nanadeshi. Foreign merchants are referred to as Nanadeshi. Foreign merchants are referred to as Nanadeshi. How were foreign merchants referred to in Chola documents? In Chola documents, foreign merchants are referred to as Nanadeshi. Nanadeshi. N-A-N, Nana, D-E-S-H, Deshi. Moving on to the next question. What occasioned the break between the Mughals and the Rajput? The succession crisis in Maratha after the death of Jaswant Singh. So basically, what occurred the break between the Mughal and the Rajputs? Basically, what occasioned the break between, that is the schism, the rift actually. So what occasioned the break between Mughals and the Rajputs? Succession crisis in Marwar after the death of Jaswant Singh. So basically, what was the reason that eventually brought about the kind of a stalemate and let's just say a schism between Mughals and the Rajput? The succession crisis in Marwar after the death of Jaswant Singh. So after the death of Jaswant Singh, Marwar crisis, that is to say succession crisis of Marwar, that brought about a schism between Mughals and the Rajputs. Who was the author of the Prabandha Chintamani? Prabandha Chintamani, this Merutunga. So basically Merutunga was the one who authored Prabandha Chintamani. So basically Prabandha Chintamani, Gujarati literature, I guess, written in the year of 1304. So this was composed in the year of 1304, in Gujarati language, probably just Gujarati text. So who was the author of the Prabandha Chintamani? Prabandha Chintamani, the author of Prabandha Chintamani was Marutunga. Marutunga was the author of Prabandha Chintamani. Moving on to the next question, who was the author of Rajatarangini? Who was the author of Rajatarangini? Kalahan, Jona Raja and Shrivara. I mean, they were saying that not just Kalahana, but Jona Raja and Shrivara, all of them, those three individuals, they collaborated mayhap to compose the, let's just say, present form of Rajatarangini, I guess. So who were the author of Rajatarangini? All of them, that's what they're saying, that Kalahana, Jona Raja and Shrivara, Jona Raja and Kalahana, all of them, they authored Rajatarangini all at once. Which of the following is true about the of the Mansabdari system? Which of the following is true of the Mansabdari system? Only 1 and 2. This is wrong. This is wrong. So Mansabdar denotes the rank and official held in the Mughal hierarchy. Basically, Mansab denotes the rank and official held in the Mughal hierarchy. So basically, Mansab denotes what? The rank and official held in the Mughal hierarchy. So Mansab is essentially a rank. Mansab denotes the rank and official held in the Mughal hierarchy. Moving on, Mansabdari usually entailed a military obligation towards the empire. So basically, Mansabdari usually entails what? A military obligation towards the empire. Mansabdari usually entails military obligation towards the empire, and Mansab denotes the rank and official held in the Mughal hierarchy. Official officer held in Mughal hierarchy. Moving on to the next question, 2020. Who is the only woman historian to write a historical account of the Mughal period? Humayun Nama. This was the only written by woman document of the Mughal period, and this was written by Gulbadan Banu Begum. So basically, who was the only woman historian to write a historical account of the Mughal period? The only woman historian to write historical accounts of the Mughal period, this was Humayun's half-sister, probably, yes, half-sister, Gulbadan Banu Begum. Humayun Nama, that was the text. So basically, Gulbadan Begum was the only woman historian to write historical account of the Mughal period, and the name of that account was Humayun Nama, the biography of the Humayun. Moving on to the next question, which of the following facts about the Taj Mahal is incorrect? The correct statement about Taj Mahal would be, the Taj Mahal was built in 1632 to 53. So Taj Mahal was built during this period, that is 1632 to 1653. And the correct statements regarding Taj Mahal would be, it is a magnificent mausoleum, that is fine. It was built by Shah Jahan. It is magnificent mausoleum. It was built by Shah Jahan. It is situated outside Agra Fort. It was built by Shah Jahan. It is a magnificent mausoleum. The name of artisan who built are engraved on it. No names of the artisan who built, their names were not engraved into it. So basically, that is wrong. So what are the correct statements regarding Taj Mahal? Of course, it's a magnificent mausoleum. It was built by Shah Jahan. It is situated outside Agra. Moving on to the next, Agra Fort. Actually, it is situated outside Agra Fort. Moving on to the next, the Persian ruler who besieged Kandahar in Jahangir's reign was Shah Abbas. Shah Abbas. This is the individual. Shah Abbas is the Persian ruler who besieged Kandahar in Jahangir's reign in the year of 1622. So Shah Abbas, the Persian ruler, the Shah Abbas Persian ruler besieged Kandahar in Jahangir's reign in the year of 1622. Shah Abbas besieged Kandahar in Jahangir's reign. Besieged Kandahar in Jahangir's reign in the year of 1622. Moving on to the next, the popular name of Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam was Mahmud Ghori. So the popular name of Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam, the Muhammad Ghori, that is the original name, or kind of a most popular name, and the original name of his was this, Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam. So Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam, and the original name of that person, that was the original name, and he was popularly known as Muhammad Ghori. So Muhammad Ghori, and the original name of Muhammad Ghori was Muizzuddin Muhammad bin Sam, and he ruled from 1149 to 1206. 1149 to 1206. Moving on to the next, Kambana's Ramayana, that is Kamba Ramayana. Kambana's Ramayana in Tamil was written during the reign of Cholas. The Kamba Ramayana or Kambana's Ramayana, also known as the Kamba Ramayana, this was written during the rule of the Cholas. During the rule of the Chola, Kamba Ramayana, by Kambana. Kambana's Ramayana or Kamba Ramayana, this was written in Tamil language. This was written in which language? In Tamil language. During the rule of Cholas. During the rule of Cholas. Absolutely fine. The composition was done in 12th century, of course. So basically, Chola, during the Chola period, Kamba Ramayana in Tamil language was written. It was in 12th century. Basically, Kamba Ramayana, that is Kambana's Ramayana in Tamil, was written during Chola period in 12th century. Perfectly fine. Moving on to the next question. Who constructed Grand Trunk Road? Sher Shah Suri is the one who constructed Grand Trunk Road. Moving on to the next question. Silver Tanka and Copper Jital was introduced by Iltutmish. Silver Tanka and Copper Jital. Silver Tanka and Copper Jital was introduced by Iltutmish. Moving on next. Who faced defeat in the Battle of Chandwar in 1194 AD? Jaichand is the one who defeated, in the battle of Chandwar. Jaichand was the one who faced defeat in the battle of Chandwar in 1194 AD. Jaichand is the one who was defeated in battle of Chandwar. So who faced defeat in the battle of Chandwar in 1194 AD? That is Jaichand. So we'll take a look at Battle of Chandwar in somewhat detail.
Battle of Chandwar, 1194 AD, Medieval India History Notes. In 1194, Muhammad Ghori fought against Jaichand of Kanauj of the Gahadavala dynasty in the Battle of Chandwar. It was held in Chandwar, modern Chandwar near Firozad on the Yamuna River near Agra. With the victory in this battle, Muhammad gained control of much of northern India. The battle was fiercely fought until Jaichand was killed and his army was routed.
So we got a perspective into the Battle of Chandwar itself. Now if we could move on to the next question, here it is. The founder of the Lodi dynasty was Bahlul Lodi. Bahlul Lodi is the founder of the Lodi dynasty. So Bahlul Lodi is the founder of Lodi dynasty, and this was established in the year of 1451 to 1526. So Lodi was the last Afghan dynasty that was there, and afterwards came the Mughals. Bahlul Lodi was the founder of Lodi dynasty, and Lodi dynasty lasted from 1451 to 1526. Afterwards, Mughal came to power. Babur and Ibrahim Lodi. Babur won the Battle of Panipat, and that's pretty much the history. And afterwards, the beginning, the emergence of the Mughal at the helm of affair. Moving on to the next question, the name of the Sultan Mahmud's father is Shabuktijin. The Sultan Mahmud's father, name of Sultan Mahmud's father was Shabuktijin. Alaptijin and Shabuktijin, we have kind of talked about it a lot. Actually, we have taken a look at it. So we're gonna take the name of the Sultan Mahmud's father is Shabuktijin. Shabuktijin was the name of the father of Sultan Mahmud. Sultan Mahmud's father is Shabuktijin, 971 to 1030. 971 to 1030. So basically, he lived for 59 years, I guess. Shabuktijin is the father of Sultan Mahmud. Absolutely fine. Moving on to the next question: who of the following became the member of the Din-e-Ilahi? Raja Birbal. Raja Birbal is the one who became the member of Din-e-Ilahi. Din-e-Ilahi, the kind of a religion brought about by Akbar, and Raja Birbal became the member of Din-e-Ilahi. Moving on to the next question: who was the Hindu king at the time of Mahmud bin Qasim's invasion of Sindh? Battle of Aror 712. Dahir was the ruler of Sindh. The Battle of Aror is the battle that was taken place. So Muhammad bin Qasim invaded Sindh province, and at that point Dahir was the ruler of Sindh. So basically, Dahir was the ruler of Sindh. Battle of Aror 712 AD. Arab conquest of Sindh, actually it is known as. So Hindu ruler of the kingdom. So who was the Hindu kingdom? Who was the Hindu king? Dahir was the Hindu king at the time of the Muhammad bin Qasim's invasion of Sindh. Battle of Aror 712 AD. So again, we're gonna take a look at Din-e-Ilahi in somewhat detail.
Present the philosophies of Dinayali and Sulai Kul that embodied Akbar's administration. How far do you think the present-day communal tensions? Posted on January 20. 2. Present the philosophies of Dinayali and Sulai Kul that embodied Akbar's administration. How far do you think the present-day communal tensions can be addressed through such inclusive religious practices? History. Why this question?
That portion was not relevant. I'm going to read that this portion. This is a relevant one.
Dinayil. Dinayil, Persian, divine faith, an elite eclectic religious movement, which never numbered more than 19 adherents, formulated by the Mughal Emperor Akbar in the late 16th century AD. The Dinayil was essentially an ethical system, prohibiting such sins as lust, sensuality, slander, and pride, and enjoining the virtues of piety, prudence, abstinence, and kindness. The soul was encouraged to purify itself through yearning for God, a tenet of Islam. Islamic mysticism. Celibacy was condoned, as in Catholicism, and the slaughter of animals was forbidden, as in Jainism. There were no sacred scriptures or a priestly hierarchy in the Dinayil. In its ritual, it borrowed heavily from Zoroastrianism, making light, sun and fire an object of divine worship and reciting, as in Hinduism, the 1,000 Sanskrit names of the sun. In practice, however, the Dinayil functioned as a personality cult contrived by Akbar around his own person. Members of the religion were handpicked by Akbar according to their devotion to him. Because the emperor styled himself a reformer of Islam, arriving on earth almost 1,000 years after the Prophet Muhammad, there was some suggestion that he wished to be acknowledged as a prophet also. The ambiguous use of formula prayers, common among the FS, such as Allahu Akbar, God is most great, or perhaps God is Akbar, hinted at a divine association as well. Akbar is recorded by various conflicting sources as having affirmed allegiance to Islam and as having broken with Islam. His religion was generally regarded by his contemporaries as a Muslim innovation or a heretical doctrine. Only two sources from his own time, both hostile, accuse him of trying to found a new religion. The influence and appeal of the Dinayil were limited and did not survive Akbar, but they did trigger a strong orthodox reaction in Indian Islam.
So we got a perspective into Dinayil, and we're going to move on to the next question. Ghazi Malik was the actual name of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the father of Muhammad bin Tughlaq actually. So Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq, the father, his original name was Ghazi Malik. Ghazi Malik was the original name of Ghiyasuddin Tughlaq. Moving on to next, the Persian poet Firdausi, who composed Shahnama. Shahnama was composed by Firdausi, was associated with the court of Sultan Mahmud. Sultan Mahmud, he was associated with the court of Sultan Mahmud. So basically, Shahnama, that was composed by Persian poet Firdausi, 977 to 1010 CE. And Sultan Mahmud, he was there at the court of Sultan Mahmud. So basically, Shahnama was composed by Persian poet Firdausi in 977 to 1010. And he was there at the court of Sultan Mahmud. So basically, Persian poet Firdausi was at the court of Sultan Mahmud, who composed Shahnama. Moving on to the next question, two major crops introduced in India during the Mughal periods were tobacco and maize. Two crops introduced during the Mughal period in the Indian subcontinent and in India was tobacco and maize. Moving on to the next, the Somnath temple of Gujarat was destroyed by Sultan Mahmud in 1025 AD. So Somnath temple of Gujarat the Somnath temple of Gujarat was destroyed by Sultan Mahmud in 1025 AD. Somnath temple of Gujarat was destroyed by Sultan Mahmud in 1025 AD. The Dilawar temple at Mount Abu were constructed during the rule of Dilawar temple Solanki rulers. The Solankis were the one who established this. Dilawar temple at Mount Abu were established or constructed during the rule of Solanki rulers. Vimal Shah 1031. So Vimal Shah 1031, he was the one actually Solanki ruler. The Dilwar temple at Mount Abu were constructed during the rule of Vimal Shah at 1031. So we're going to take a look at this at some more detail.
Dilwara Temple, history, architecture, temples, facts, amenities. Rajasthan, the land of the desert, also hosts a formidable place for mountain lovers, Mount Abu. It is also a hill station graced by Aravalli. Due to its rich heritage and tradition, the city has a strong presence on the cultural map of India. Dilwara Jain Temple is the blueprint of this culture depicted in its sculpture and architecture. The temple is presently administered by Sethi Kalyanji Paramananji PD. Dilwara Temple history. The Dilwara Temple or Delveda temples are considered the most beautiful pilgrimage sites for Jains. The Dilwara Temple is famous for its spectacular use of marble in its making. These temples have a group of Shvetambara Jain temples located about 2.5 kilometers from Mount Abu. The Dilwara temples were earliest built by Vimal Shah and supposedly designed or at least financed by Vastupala, Jain minister of Dholka. Dilwara Temple was built by which dynasty? The temple was built between the 11th to 13th AD by the Chalukya dynasty. Their temples are in the style of Maru Gurjara architecture, famous for their use of very pure white marble and intricate marble carvings. Dilwara Temple architecture. The Dilwara Temple architecture style and inspired by Nagara style and a collection of ancient manuscripts. Dilwara temples consist of 5 temples of the same size and all of them are single-storied. There are 48 pillars in all the temples that have the beautiful status of females in different dancing gestures. The main attraction of this temple is Rang Mandapa, which is in the dome-shaped ceiling. It has a chandelier-like structure in the middle of the roof, and the 16 idols of Vidyadevi, the goddess of knowledge, are made of stone around it. The other designs of carvings include lotus, gods, and abstract patterns. All of these ceilings, doorways, pillars, and panels have minutely carved ornamental details which shows its uniqueness of architectural. It is also important to notice that at that time there was no transportation system for such huge big blocks of marble at 1,200 meters in height. The elephants were used to transport white marble on their backs from Arasori hills at Ambaji to Mount Abu. 5 amazing temples of Dilwara. Dilwara temple complex consists of 5 different temples, each devoted to 5 Jain Tirthankara of Jains.
So we can go on reading about the Dilwara temple, but that wouldn't be necessary. So we just need to know the detail of somewhat detail, and we got to the understanding of Dilwara temple. This was established by Solanki rulers, and Vimal Shah was the one who were actually the one who did everything, I guess. He was a ruler at that point. Moving on to the next question, the Russian merchant traveler Nikitin visited southern India in 15th century. The Russian merchant traveler Nikitin visited southern India in 15th century. Moving on to the next question, which of the following system were the backbones of the Vijayanagara administration? Nyayakara and Ayagar. Nyayakara and Ayagar. So basically, which of the following system were the backbones of the Vijayanagara dynasty, or Vijayanagara administration rather? Nyayakara and Ayagar. Nyayakara and Ayagar. These two systems, or these two things, were the backbone of the Vijayanagara administration. Nyayakara and Ayagar. Nyayakara and Ayagar. These two following systems were the backbone of Vijayanagara administration. So let's get a bit of understanding of what this Nayakara and those two systems are all about. So let's just have a reading.
Village affairs in Vijayanagar Empire were conducted by a team of 12 functionaries who were collectively known as Answer A. Iyengar's notes. The Iyengar system was an important feature of the village organization in Vijayanagar Empire. According to this, every village was a separate unit and its affairs were conducted by a team of 12 functionaries who were collectively known as the Iyengars. Comment on Nyayankara system. Open in app. Solution. The provincial administration was granted prime attention by the Vijayanagar rulers. The government that existed in the provinces was called the Nyayankara system. It was equivalent to that of European feudalism. All the land, as per the scheme, was owned by the rulers. He assigned the land to his generals. They functioned and behaved as feudal lords under his influence. During the time of the Vijayanagar rulers, this administrative structure grew. Most of the land was allocated among the Noyoks depending on the theory. For their defense, they existed with pomp and show and built forts. They acknowledged the Vijayanagar rulers' dominance and served as their guardians.
So we got perspective into what Nyayankara and the Iyengar system was all about, and it is written here as well. Moving on to the next question. Diwani Khairat, a ministry of the charity, was organized by Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Firoz Shah Tughlaq is the one who organized Diwani Khairat. Moving on to the next question. Mughals imported fruits from Uzbekistan. Samarkand is the place that was known as Samarkand at that point, and it is at this point this is Uzbekistan. So basically, Mughals imported fruits from Uzbekistan. It is Samarkand. From Samarkand, Mughals they used to import fruits from. Which Mughal emperor transferred capital from Agra to Delhi? Shah Jahan is the one. Shah Jahan transferred the capital from Agra to Delhi. So Shah Jahan is the one who transferred capital from Agra to Delhi. Shah Jahan is the one. In the year of 1638. In the year of 1638, Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan. In the year of 1638, Mughal Emperor Shah Jahan transferred capital from Agra to Delhi. Moving on to the next question. Which of the following works refer to the history of Sindh and its conquest by the Muslim? Chachnama. So Chachnama is the kind of a book. Chachnama is the historical document actually. This refers to the history of the Sindh and its conquest by the Muslim. Chachnama talks about the history of Sindh and the conquest by the Muslim. Chachnama refers to the history of Sindh and its conquest by the Muslims. Chachnama. Moving on, who was the author of Tabaqat-i-Naziri? Minhaj-i-Siraj. Minhaj-i-Siraj is the author of Tabaqat-i-Naziri. Tabaqat-i-Naziri, Minhaj-i-Siraj. Minhaj-u-Siraj, Tabaqat-i-Naziri, 1260. Tabaqat-i-Naziri, authored by Minhaj-i-Siraj. Minhaj-i-Siraj is the one who authored Tabaqat-i-Naziri. Tabaqat-i-Naziri, who was the author of Tabaqat-i-Naziri, Minhaj-i-Siraj. Tabaqat-i-Naziri, author of Tabaqat-i-Naziri, Minhaj-i-Siraj. Moving on, Jizya were abolished by the Mughal ruler Akbar. Akbar is the one who abolished Jizya in 1564. So debt is important more. So in 1564, Mughal Emperor Akbar abolished Jizya, done away with Jizya. So Jizya, Akbar, Mughal Emperor Akbar done away with Jizya for the first time in 1564. Moving on, King Jayapala, who faced Sultan Mahmud's invasion, belongs to Hindu Shah dynasty. So Hindu Shah dynasty, Jayapala is the ruler of Hindu Shah dynasty. He was the ruler who faced Sultan Mahmud invasion, belongs to Hindu Shah dynasty, 964 to 1001. So Jayapala, who faced Sultan Mahmud's invasion, belongs to Hindu Shah dynasty, 964 to 1001 CE. Mughal prince who was well versed in Arabic, Persian and Sanskrit was Prince Darashikoh. Prince Darashikoh was the Mughal prince, I would rather say. So Prince Darashikoh, he was the Mughal prince who was well versed in both, all these languages, Arabic, Persian and also Sanskrit. So Mughal prince who was well versed in Arabic, Persian and Sanskrit language was Darashikoh. Aurangzeb sent Mukarrab Khan against Sambhaji. Mukarrab Khan, that guy Mukarrab Khan, he was sent against Sambhaji. So Aurangzeb sent Mukarrab Khan against Sambhaji. Aurangzeb sent Mukarrab Khan against Sambhaji. Moving on, Ramachandra Yadava, who faced Alauddin's invasion, was the ruler of Devagiri. Ramachandra Yadava was the ruler of Devagiri. Ramachandra Yadava is in 1296 Maharashtra. Ramachandra Yadava, 1260 Maharashtra. Ramachandra Yadava, who faced Alauddin's invasion, was the ruler of Maharashtra, was the ruler of Devagiri actually. It was the ruler of Devagiri. Ramachandra Yadava, who faced Alauddin's invasion, was the ruler of Devagiri. Let's just get a bit of perspective into Ramachandra Yadava, who faced Alauddin's invasion, was the ruler of course, Devagiri. We have learnt it. Let's just get a bit more perspective into it.
Raja Ramchandra, 1291 to 1309 AD, important ruler of Yadava dynasty, medieval India history notes. Raja Ramachandra, 1291 to 1309 AD, also known as Ramadeva, was the emperor of India's Yadava dynasty. After conducting a coup in the capital Devagiri, he usurped the throne from his cousin Amana. He enlarged his empire by fighting the Paramaras, Hoysalas, Vogelas, and Kakatiyas, all of whom were Hindus. He faced a Muslim invasion from the Delhi Sultanate in 1296 AD, and made peace by promising to pay an annual tribute to a lord in Khalji. Background. Raja Ramachandra. Background. Ramachandra was the son of Yadava ruler Krishna. He was presumably quite young at the time of Krishna's death in 1260 CE, therefore his uncle, Krishna's brother, Mahadeva ascended the throne. He asserted a claim to the throne when Mahadeva's son Amana became the next monarch around 1270 CE. Ramachandra was probably seen as the rightful heir by the majority of the important officers and generals. This is explained by the fact that Mahadeva's courtiers Hemadri and Tikama left Amana and began supporting Ramachandra. War of Succession. War of Succession. Ramachandra took the throne from his cousin Amana somewhere in the second part of 1271 CE. This coup is shown in an inscription. Ramachandra and his followers disguised themselves as performers and invaded the Devagiri fort. They kidnapped the king and his supporters during a concert in front of the entertainment-obsessed Amana. Literary writings such as Bhanuvilasa, a Mahanuba text, and Nagadevasharita of Parashuramavayasa back up this claim. Ramachandra, according to the Mahanuba scriptures, blinded Amana. He killed Amana, according to Nagadevasharita, and this act led to Ramachandra's eventual defeat against the Muslims. The authenticity of this account is dubious, as other documents only describe the blinding, not the execution. Battle with Paramaras. Battle with Paramaras. Paramara kingdom of Malwa was to the north of the Yadava kingdom. By the 1270s, the Paramara kingdom had been divided between King Arjunavarman II and his minister, and the Paramara power had deteriorated significantly. In the 1270s, Ramachandra took advantage of these circumstances and attacked the Paramara kingdom, handily defeating the Paramara army. Ramachandra's Python inscription of 1271 AD mentions his conquest of Morwa, while his Udari inscription of 1276 AD praises him as a lion in eliminating the multitude of Arjuna's rutting elephants. It's possible that the Morwa invasion was intended to commemorate his accession to the throne. Battle with Vogelos of Gujara. Battle with Vogelos of Gujara. Ramachandra appears to have engaged in battles with his northwestern neighbours, the Vogelos of Gujara, during the northern war against the Paramaras. Both dynasties claim wins in inscriptions, therefore the fight appears to have ended in a draw. The Yadavas won the fight, as per Ramachandra's Thane copperplate inscription, but the Vogelos won the war, as per Sarangadeva's Sintra copperplate inscription. Battle with Hoysala. Battle with Hoysala. Ramachandra resolved to deploy a powerful expedition against the Hoysalas and spent 2 to 3 years planning it. In 1275 AD, a Yadava force led by Tikama, Ramachandra's general, invaded Hoysala land. In 1276 AD, Tikama defeated this Hoysala force. The Hoysala capital was then besieged by Tikama. The Hoysala generals defended their capital against the invaders for the next few months and Tikama was forced to retire as the Hoysala commander-in-chief conducted a decisive offensive against the Yadavas. Despite his failure to seize the Hoysala capital, Tikama was able to amass a significant amount of loot from the assault, including a huge number of elephants and horses. Over the next few years, there were a few little skirmishes between the two kingdoms, but no major conflict. Conflict with Delhi Sultanate. Conflict with Delhi Sultanate. The governor of the Delhi Sultanate, Alauddin Khalji, attacked Devagiri in 1296. A large portion of the Yadava army was away from the capital at the time of Alauddin's invasion. Ramachandra was ill-prepared for defense and consented to a peace treaty with Alauddin in exchange for a huge tribute. However, before the ratification of the treaty, Alauddin attacked him and forced Ramachandra to pay a significantly higher payment. As a result of Alauddin's invasion, the Yadavas lost their status. The Kakatiya monarchs acquired the eastern section of Ramachandra's empire, which encompassed the present-day Anantapur and Raichur districts, taking advantage of the weakening Yadava authority. The Hoysala ruler reclaimed the Hoysala territory that had been lost to the Yadavas in previous years. Ramachandra and the Yadava dynasty. Decline of Ramachandra and the Yadava dynasty. After the attacks by Alauddin Khalji, Ramchandra became weak and finally in 1308 AD, Alauddin Khalji launched a force to Ramachandra, led by his general Malik Kafur. Malik Kafur's army beat the Yadava prince's army and carried Ramachandra to Delhi. Alauddin regarded Ramachandra with respect in Delhi, and he was reinstalled as a vassal in Devagiri. Alauddin bestowed the title Raja-i-Rajan, King of Kings, on him, as well as the personal Jaigir of Navsari. Although the exact date of Ramachandra's death is unknown, he likely to have died in 1311. His last existing inscription, the Nola inscription, dates from 1311 AD. Simhana III, Shankaradeva, was his son, who was defeated and killed after an unsuccessful rebellion against Alauddin Khalji. This way Yadava dynasty ended. Religion of Ramachandra. Religion of Ramachandra. According to the Yadava records, Ramachandra was a famous Shiva, Mahamaheshvara, devotee who anointed 8 Shiva images with the milk of his glory. He is also compared to Vishnu and his numerous avatars in these documents. For example, he is referred to as Narayana among kings. At Ramtek, Maharashtra, he is credited with constructing 5 temples devoted to Ramasita, Lakshmanaswamy, Hanuman, Goddess Ekadashi, and Lakshmi Narayana. According to an inscription found at the Lakshmanaswamy temple, Ramachandra gave his viceroy the authority to promote Rama worship. Ramachandra's land grants indicate that the dam of Dharma is shared by all monarchs and encourage all future kings to follow it. Conclusion. Conclusion. Raja Ramchandra was the Deccan's last independent Hindu ruler. He reigned from 1291 to 1309 AD after getting the throne from Amana. When Alauddin Khilji, the Sultan of Delhi, crossed the Narmada River, in 1294, Raja Ramchandra was forced to submit and his kingdom was ransomed by a vast sum. Ramchandra was forced to be a vassal of the Delhi Sultanate. He was a faithful feudatory who assisted Alauddin's army in defeating the Kakatiyas and Hoysalas. FAQs. FAQs. Question. Explain the battle of Raja Ramchandra with Paramaras. Answer. Paramara Kingdom of Malwa was to the north of the Yodava Kingdom. By the 1270s, the Paramara Kingdom had been divided. In the 1270s, Ramachandra took advantage of these circumstances and attacked the Paramara Kingdom, handily defeating the Paramara army. Ramachandra's Python inscription of 1271 AD mentions his conquest of Malwa. It's possible that the Malwa invasion was intended to commemorate his accession to the throne. Question: who was the last ruler of Yodava dynasty? Answer. Raja Ramchandra was Yodava's last independent ruler. He reigned from 1291 to 1309 AD after getting the throne from Amana. When Alauddin Khilji, the Sultan of Delhi, crossed the Narmada River, in 1294, Raja Ramchandra was forced to submit and his kingdom was ransomed by a vast sum. Question: write a short note on Raja Ramachandra. Answer. Raja Ramachandra, 1291 to 1309 AD, was the emperor of India's Yodava dynasty. After conducting a coup in the capital Devagiri, he usurped the throne from his cousin Amana. He enlarged his empire by fighting the Paramaras, Hoysalas, Vogelas, and Kakatiyas, all of whom were Hindus. He faced a Muslim invasion from the Delhi Sultanate in 1296 AD.
So that was a little too mouthful. We have learnt a lot about Raja Ramachandra Yadava. So he was the one kind of Devagiri and everything we have learnt. So basically Raja Ramachandra, who faced Alauddin's invasion, was ruler of Devagiri. Yes, moving on to the next question. Which Mughal emperor was a patron of Hinduism or Hindustani music and was popularly known as Rangila? Muhammad Shah. Muhammad Shah was popularly known as Muhammad Shah Rangila. So Muhammad Shah was the Mughal emperor, a patron of Hindustani music and popularly known as Rangila. Muhammad Shah was popularly known as Rangila, Muhammad Shah Rangila. Sant Janeshwara was the author of Amrutanubha. Amrut Anubhava. Okay, Amrut Anubhava is the proper pronunciation of that would be. Okay, Amrut Anubhava. So Saint Janeshwara or Gyanadeva Janeshwara, Saint Janeshwara was the author of Amrut Anubhava. Amrut Anubhava. So basically Amrut Anubhava, this is the author, like Janeshwara was the author of Amrut Anubhava, Marathi language, of course, it was in Marathi language. Amrut Anubhava, this was written by Saint Janeshwara. Saint Janeshwara or the Gyaneshwara, Saint Janeshwara is the author of Amrut Anubhava and this was written in Marathi language. So Amrit Anubhava, this was authored by Saint Janeshwara, Amrit Anubhava, Saint Janeshwara, and it was in Marathi language. Moving on to the next question. 2019, the largest standing army of the Sultanate directly paid by the state was created by Alauddin Khilji, of course. So the largest standing army of the Sultanate directly paid by the state was created by Alauddin Khilji. Moving on, the Muslim kingdom of Golconda grew up on the ruins of old Hindu kingdoms of Warangal. So Warangal is the kind of ashes from where this Golconda, Muslim kingdom of Golconda grew up. So basically, from the ashes of Warangal, the Muslim kingdom of Golconda grew up on the ruins of Hindu kingdoms of Warangal. On the ashes of Hindu kingdom of Warangal, the Muslim kingdom Golconda grew up. Fine. So it was 12th to 14th century. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Moving on, which of the following did not form part of the contingent maintained by the Mansabdar? So Mansabdar artillery. So basically, which of the following did not form a part of contingent maintained by the Mansabdar? So basically, Mansabdar had to maintain what? What are the three things they had to maintain? Reversely, we could say cavalryman they had to maintain, bowman, that is archer, they have to maintain that, and musketeers. So basically, cavalryman, then bowman, and musketeers. But artilleryman, they don't have to maintain artillerymen. So they had to maintain what? Cavalryman, bowman, and musketeers. Basically, which did not, or which formed the part of the contingents maintained by the Mansabdar. Mansabdar had to maintain contingent. What are the contingent Mansabdar had to maintain? Cavalryman, bowman, and musketeers. Musketeers, bowman, and cavalryman, but not artilleryman. Moving on to the next, who is known as the Plato of the Jat tribe? Surajmal, Raja Surajmal. Surajmal was known as the Jat Maratha, Plato of the Maratha tribe. So Bharatpur, Rajasthan, he was from there, this particular portion, Bharatpur, Rajasthan. So, who's known as the Plato of Jat tribes? Surajmal was known as the Plato of the Jat tribe. Moving on to the next, the Nawab of Awadh, who was appointed as Vizier of the Mughal Emperor, was Shadaf Khan, Shadaf Jung actually, not Khan but Shadaf Jung. So, the Nawab of Awadh, who was appointed as the Vizier of the Mughal Empire, was the Nawab of Awadh. Nawab of Awadh, who was appointed as the Vizier. He was the Nawab of Awadh, of course. Shadaf Jung was the Nawab of Awadh, who was finally appointed as the Vizier of the Mughal Empire, was Shadaf Jung. But Shadaf Jung was initially the Nawab of Awadh. Shafdar Jung, actually not Shafat or Shafdar Jung. Proper pronunciation is Shafdar Jung. So Shafdar Jung was the Nawab of Awadh, who was finally appointed as the Wazir of the Mughal Empire. It was a Shabdar Jung, Nawab of Awadh, who was finally appointed as the Wazir of the Mughal Empire. 2018 question. The famous Uttar Mirror inscription belongs to the Parantaka I, so ruler Parantaka I. The Uttar Mirror inscription that we talk about, this belongs to Parantaka I, Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. I mean, he's from Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. This inscription was found from Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. The famous Uttar Mirror inscription belongs to the reign of Parantaka I, and it was from Kanchipuram, Tamil Nadu. The famous Uttar Mirror inscription belongs to Parantaka I. Moving on, which Delhi Sultan represented himself as the Sikandari Saini, who called himself or referred to himself as Sikandari Saini. Alauddin Khilji, the Delhi Sultanate ruler, he kind of described himself as portrayed himself or named himself as a Sikandari Saini. Actually, he wanted to establish or let's just say portray himself or characterize himself, or rather let's just say inculcate the character of Alexander in him. So he wanted to be the second Alexander. That is the reason why Alexander was known as Sikandar in India. In India, Alexander was referred to as Sikandar. So he wanted to style himself as a second Alexander. So which Delhi Sultan represented himself as the Sikandari Saini? He wanted to become second Alexander, wanted to step in the shoes of Alexander, let's just say. So Alauddin Khilji wanted to become Sikandari Saini, that is to say second Alexander, let's just say what kind of like Muslim Alexander, whatever it is. So Sikandari Saini, Delhi Sultanate, Sikandari Saini, Alauddin Khilji. Moving on, the foreign traveler named one of the famous Vijayanagara coin as pagoda. Originally it was Varaha. So the pagoda, Vijayanagara coin, was named as pagoda, but originally the foreign travelers, of course, named Vijayanagara coins as pagoda, famous Vijayanagara coins as pagoda, but originally it was known as Varaha. So Varaha coin was known as, or renamed as pagoda by foreign travelers. So Varaha coins was known as Vijayanagara coin as pagoda. These Varaha coins were named as pagoda by the foreign travelers, but originally, of course, it was known as Varaha. Nask was what? Revenue payable by cultivators was based on the past experience. So basically, Nasak was what? Nasak was revenue payable by the cultivators was based on the past experience. So Nasak was what? It's a revenue payable by the cultivators was based on what? Past experience. The kind of a past, the kind of a agricultural growth that was there, the agricultural generation that we have seen. Based on that, this assessment was based. Okay, so revenue payable by the cultivators was based on the past experience of the Nashak. Moving on to the next question, the effect of 1717 Farman of Farrukhsiyar Farman. Yes, the famous. The effect of the Farrukhsiyar Farman, the effect of 1717 Farman of Emperor Farrukhsiyar granting exemption to companies' merchandise from custom duties in lieu of an annual sum of 3,000 was all of the above. I mean, these all kind of with a dastak, a handwritten pass, the company's goods could pass without inspection through toll station chowkis. Company's official quietly extended these privileges to their own private traders as well. The chief first sufferers was the government of the Nawabs, who lost out on the custom duties, and rival Indian traders who faced unequal competition. So basically all of these were the results. So basically Surgeon William Hamilton probably was the one who kind of was there somewhere. So the Farrukhsiyar Farman, what was the effect of it? With this dastak, or with the dastak handwritten pass, companies' goods could pass without inspection through toll station, that is chowkis. Company's officials quietly extended this privilege to their personal private trade as well. Then the chief sufferer was the government of the Nawabs, who lost out on custom duties, and rival Indian traders who faced unequal competition because they have to give the duty. On the other hand, the English East India Company, they were kind of free. So it was an unequal competition that was going on there. Who was the author of Siyar-ul-Mutakhirin? Ghulam Hussain. Siyar-ul-Mutakhirin was the author. Who was the author of this particular work? Siyar-ul-Mutakhirin. Author Ghulam Hussain is the author of Siyar-ul-Mutakhirin. Moving on to the next question, 2017. Which of the following pair is not matched correctly? Or the correctly matched would be Shandhakar Nandi Ramcharitra. Ramcharitra was written by Shandhakar Nandi. Jayasimha Kamrupa Charita. Kamrupa Charita was written by Jayasimha. And then Gadavako wrote Vakpati. Vakpati was written by Gadavako. Gadavako wrote Vakpati. Jayasimha Kamrupa Charita, and Shandhakar Nandi Ramcharita Manasa. Gadavako Vakpati, Jayasimha Kamrupa Charita, and Shandhakar Nandi Ramcharita. But Prithviraj Rasu was written by Chand Bardai. So this is not correct. So Prithviraj Rasu was written by Chand Bardai. Chand Bardai wrote Prithviraj Rasu. No, sorry, not Prithviraj Rasa, Prithviraj Charita. So Chand Bardai was the one who wrote Prithviraj Charita, Sandhyakanandi Ramcharita Manas, Jasimha Kamarupa Charita, and Godavaka Vakpati. Moving on, who was popularly known as Nana Sahib, 1740 to 1761? Balaji Bajirao. Balaji Bajirao was known as Nana Sahib. Balaji Bajirao was popularly known as Nana Sahib. Balaji Bajirao. Moving on, which Mughal building is said to possess the unique features of being exactly equal in length and breadth? The Taj Mahal. Taj Mahal holds this unique distinction of being equal, that is to say square shape, and equal in both the length and breadth. Taj Mahal. Moving on to the next question, which Mughal ruler conferred the title Raja on Ram Mohan Roy and requested him to go to England to plead for his hike in the emperor's pension? Akbar II was the one he kind of requested Raja Ram Mohan Roy. I kind of gave the title to Ram Mohan Roy. Mughal Emperor. How many Mughal provinces were there under Akbar and Aurangzeb respectively? So for under Akbar there were 15 and under Aurangzeb there were 21 respectively. So how many Mughal provinces were there under Akbar and Aurangzeb respectively? 15 and 21. Moving on to the next question. An elite body formed by the slave officers of which Delhi Sultanate, popularly known as the crop of the 40 Chalgani, Iltutmish. The crop of 40, the Turgani Chahalgani, this was crop of 40, this was established by Iltutmish. Moving on to the next question. Which Mughal emperor for the first time divided the empire into the provinces? Akbar was the Mughal emperor who for the first time divided his empire into the provinces. Mughal emperor Akbar was the first Mughal emperor. Which Mughal emperor for the first time divided his empire or the empire into the provinces? Akbar was the Mughal emperor for the first time divided the empire into the provinces. Moving on to the next question. The royal ritual of Charuka Darshana was introduced by the Mughal Emperor Akbar. Akbar was the one who introduced this Charuka Darshana. Charuka Darshana was introduced by Mughal Emperor Akbar. Moving on, Jaigir of the Mughals is equal to which of the following units of Sultanate period? Jaigir, that is tax farming. Jaigir is Ikta. Jaigir of Mughal period, that is tax farming. Jaigir of the Mughal time is equals to Ikta of the Sultanate period. Jaigir of Mughal is equals to Ikta of the Sultanate period. Jagirdari system, Batan Jaigir, etc., Tanka Jaigir, something. There's many types of Jaigirs were there, and that is equivalent to the Ikta system of the Sultanate period. Moving on to the next question. The type of painting which made remarkable progress during the reign of Jahangir was a portrait painting, not miniature, but a portrait painting. So during the Jahangir's reign, so I do make mistakes from time to time with this question. The type of painting which made remarkable progress during the reign of Jahangir was portrait painting, not miniature, but rather portrait painting. The type of painting which made remarkable progress during the reign of Jahangir was portrait painting. Moving on to the next question. Who was known as a Lak Baksha? Qutubuddin Aibak was known as Lak Baksha. Moving on. Muhammad bin Tughlaq lived in a camp called Sharbatgari, Svargadvari, for 2.5 years on the bank of which river? This camp located Ganges, on the river Ganges, on the bank of river Ganges. So Muhammad bin Tughlaq lived in a camp called Svargadvari for 2.5 years on the bank of river Ganges. Muhammad bin Tughlaq lived in a camp called Svargadvari for 2.5 years, and it was at the bank of Ganges. During the reign of which Delhi Sultan Jazia collected even from the Brahmanas? Firoz Shah Tughlaq's reign. During Firoz Shah Tughlaq's reign, jizya was collected even from the Brahmanas. During the reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq, jizya was collected even from the Brahmanas. The policemen of the Vijayanagara were paid out taxes collected from prostitutes. Actually, from prostitutes, the tax collected, and by which Vijayanagara policemen were paid off. Vijayanagara policemen of the Vijayanagara were paid out taxes collected from the prostitutes. Moving on to the next question. Jayadevas Gita Govinda deals with the cult of Krishna. Jayadevas Gita Govinda deals with the Krishna cult. Jayadevas Gita Govinda deals with the cult of the Krishna, 12th century. Jayadevas Gita Govinda, this was composed in 12th century. Jayadevas Gita Govinda composed in 12th century, and it deals with the Krishna cult, Krishna Bhakti cult, I guess. Iqtidars during the Sultanate period were also known as the Muktis. Iqtidars of the Sultanate period were also known as the Muktis. Iqtidars during the Sultanate period were also known as the Muktis. Then the 96-year-old man who was captured and beheaded at Talikota, Banihati in 1565 was Ramaraya. So Ramaraya, who is an old person, and after the battle, Rakshasa Sangadi, Battle of Talikota, he lost. Our Vijayanagara actually pretty much annihilated, and he was beheaded actually. So in the 96-year-old man who was captured was Ramaraya and beheaded at Talikota, Banihati in 1565. That's pretty much it. The term Malay Mandalam refers to Malabar Coast. The Malay Mandalam, that particular area, Malay Mandalam was referred to as, Malabar Coast was referred to as Malay Mandalam. So Malabar Coast was referred to as Malay Mandalam. The term Malay Mandalam refers to Malabar Coast. Moving on, which Bahmani ruler shifted the capital from Gulbarg to Bidar? Bahmani Sultanate, Ahmad Shah Abdali, Ahmad Shah Wali. Wali means kind of a learned person or whatever, good person, whatever. So which Bahmani ruler shifted the capital from Gulbarg to Bidar? From Gulbarg to Bidar, Ahmad Shah Wali was the one. Ahmad Shah Wali is the ruler, let's just say. Bahmani ruler Ahmad Shah Wali shifted his capital from Gulbarg to Bidar. Ahmad Shah Wali was the one who shifted capital from Gulbarg to Bidar. Moving on to the next question. Who among the following were generally influenced by Islam? Who among the following was greatly influenced by Islam? Namadeva, Bhakti saint Namadeva. Namadeva was the saint, let's just say, one Bhakti saint. Whom of the following greatly influenced by Islam? Namadeva, the Bhakti saint, was greatly influenced by Islam. The Mughal, which Mughal is credited with prohibiting sati unless the widow herself, on her own free will, persistently desired it? Akbar pretty much did that. Akbar is the one who kind of did that. He abolished the practice of sati. Moving on, during the reign of which Mughal was the tobacco introduced in India? During the reign of Jahangir, tobacco was introduced in India. During the rule of Jahangir, tobacco was introduced in India. During the rule of Jahangir, tobacco was introduced in India. According to a legend, whom did Sikandar Lodi, the Sultan of Delhi, try to kill by various means? Sikandar Lodi, according to legend, Sikandar Lodi tried to kill Kabir, Bhakta Kabir, or Santa Kabir, by various means. Sikandar Lodi, the Sultan of Delhi, tried to kill Kabir by various means, according to some legend. The Delhi Sultan, who styled himself as the second Alexander, Sikandar-i-Sani, second Alexander, was Alauddin Khilji. We have talked about it extensively a few minutes earlier. So, the Delhi Sultan, who styled himself second Alexander, Sikandar-i-Sani, was Alauddin Khilji. Moving on to the next question, 2016. Which of the following pair is not matched correctly, or the correctly matched pair would be Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Fututu Firoz Shahi, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Fututu Firoz Shahi, Ziauddin Barani, Tariki Firoz Shahi. Tariki Firoz Shahi was written by Ziauddin Barani. Minaj Siraj, Tabaqati Naziri, Minaj Siraj, Ziauddin Barani, Tariki Firoz Shahi, and Firoz Tughlaq, Fututu Firoz Shahi. Firoz Tughlaq deals with the Firoz Tughlaq, Fututu Firoz Shahi, Futuhat-e Firoz Shahi, Firoz Shah Tughlaq, Ziauddin Barani, Tariki Firoz Shahi, Minaj Siraj, he wrote Tabaqat Naziri, Ziauddin Barani, he wrote Tariki Firoz Shahi, and Firoz Tughlaq himself, Fututu Firoz Shahi. And Kitabul Rihala was written by Ibn Battuta. So basically, the Kitabul Rihala was written by Ibn Battuta. It was a form of the travel literature based upon his experience. He traveled for nearly 30 years and covered most of the Islamic world during 1304 to 1369 CE, and Atta dedicated his account to his book. Basically, like this experience and everything is written in his books. Basically, Kitabul Rihala, this was written by Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta is the one who wrote Kitabul Rihala, not Ziauddin Barani. So again, we're gonna have to recap it. Firoz Shah, Firoz Tughlaq wrote the Futuhat Firoz Shahi. Kitabul Rihala was written by Ibn Battuta. It's a travel account. Ziauddin Barani, he wrote Tariki Firoz Shahi. Ziauddin Barani wrote Tariki Firoz Shahi, and Minaj Siraj wrote Tabaqat Naziri. Moving on to the next question, and here it is. The success of Muizzuddin Muhammad Ghori in India was the consummation of a process which extended over the whole 12th century. By whom this observation was made? A.B.M. Habibullah. A.B.M. Habibullah, the historian, he kind of made this statement. What is the statement? The success of Muizzuddin Muhammad Ghori in India was the consummation of a process which extended over the whole 12th century. The success of Muizzuddin Muhammad Ghori in India was the consummation of a process which extended over the whole 12th century. This statement was given by A.B.M. Habibullah. Moving on to the next question. During the reign of which Sultan of Delhi did the Chahalgani or the Chalisa came into existence? Turkani Chahalgani, this came into existence during the time of Iltutmish. Moving on to the next. Three types of coins of the Delhi Sultanate, Tanka, Shashgani and Jital, were made respectively of Tanka was made of silver, Shashgani made of silver, and Jital was made of copper. So that's pretty much the sequence actually. So Tanka silver, Shashgani silver, and Jital copper. So basically Tanka silver, Shashgani silver, and Jital copper. Tanka silver, Shashgani silver, and Jital copper. Moving on, Niccolo di Conti, an Italian visitor, came to Vijayanagara during the reign of Devarada I. Italian traveler Niccolo di Conti visited Vijayanagara Empire during. So basically, Niccolo di Conti, an Italian traveler, visited Vijayanagara Empire during the reign of Devarada I. According to Abdul Razak, the policemen of the Vijayanagara were paid out taxes collected from the brothels, prostitutes. So According to Abdul Razak, the policemen of the Vijayanagaras were paid out of the tax collected from the brothel. So basically, according to the Abdul Razak, the policemen of the Vijayanagaras were paid out of taxes collected from the brothels, prostitutes. Moving on to the next question, which revenue system among the following is known as the Bandobast system? 1580, this Zabt system of Zabt system is called Bandobast system. Which of the following is known as the Bandobast system? Zabt system is known as the Bandobast system, and this was let's just say promulgated, or this was constituted in 1580. So which system of the revenue administration, which revenue system among the following is known as, or which revenue system? Zabt system of revenue is also known as the Bandobast system. Zabt system is also known as the Bandobast system, 1580. Moving on, during the reign of which Mughal was the tobacco introduced in India? Jahangir. During the reign of Jahangir, tobacco was introduced in India. During the rule of Jahangir, tobacco was introduced in India. Tobacco was introduced in India during the rule of Jahangir. Which Mughal is credited with the prohibition of sati unless the widow herself, of her own free will, persistently desired it? Akbar. We just have seen this question. Moving on. The only type of Jaigir which could not be transferred was the hereditary Jaigir, that was Watan Jaigir. So basically, the only type of Jaigir which could not be transferred was, there are four types of Jaigir: Khidmat Jaigir, Milkiyat Jaigir, Tan Jaigir, and Watan Jaigir. So hereditary one, this Watan Jaigir cannot be transferred. This is hereditary one. It sort of goes from one generation to the other. So except Watan Jaigir, Khidmat Jaigir, Milkiyat Jaigir, and Tan Jaigir, all those Jaigir could be transferred, could have been transferred. So Watan Jaigir could not be transferred. This is a hereditary one. Moving on to the next question: whom of the following Mughal rulers were half Rajput, born of Rajput mother? Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Both of these individuals, Shah Jahan and Jahangir, both of these two individuals were half Rajput, born of the Rajput mother. Whom of the following Mughal rulers were half Rajput, born of Rajput mothers? Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Jahangir and Shah Jahan both are half Rajputs. Who was the first Englishman to visit Jahangir's court? 1608. Hawkins. So William Hawkins actually is the one. William Hawkins is the first Englishman to visit Jahangir's court. William Hawkins, 1608. William Hawkins, 1608 was the first Englishman to visit Jahangir's court. Moving on to the next question. A new technique of painting known as the Shiai Qualm became fashionable during the reign of Jahangir. Shiai Qualm, or kind of what is the technique this was? So a new technique of painting known as a Shiai Qualm became fashionable during the reign of Jahangir. Shiai Qualm, new fashion technique, let's just say. A new technique of painting known as a Shiai Qualm became fashionable during the reign of Jahangir. Shiai Qualm, Jahangir. A few more questions. Mains question 2015. During whose reign did the post of Peshwa not only become powerful but also hereditary? During the rule of Shahu, or during the reign of Shahu, during the time of Shahu, Peshwaship became hereditary, become powerful but also become hereditary. Peshwa not only become powerful but also become hereditary during the rule of Shahu. Whom of the following got the title Sena Karti, K-A-R Karte, Sena Karti? Shahu, like Balaji Vishwanath. Balaji Vishwanath is the one who got Sena Karti. Sena Karti, K-A-R-T Karte. Whom of the following got the title Sena Karti? Balaji Vishwanath is the one who got the title Sena Karti, and this title was given by Shahu. Shahu gave the title to Balaji Vishwanath. And the title was, Balaji Vishwanath was given title Sena Karti. Moving on to the next question: which one of the following Mughal emperor is credited with the composition of many Hindi songs? Jahangir. He is credited with composition of many Hindi songs. The Mughal emperor Jahangir, said to have composed many Hindi songs. Moving on to the next: which of the following manuscripts containing miniature paintings reveals a sense of realism and authenticity witnessed or experienced by the painters themselves? Akbar, 1582 to 88 is the year, like a manuscript. Which of the following manuscript? Tariq-e-Alfi, A-L-F-I, Alfi, Tariq-e-Alfi. This was kind of created, or kind of, let's just say, written during the rule of Akbar. So, and this was the time frame, 1582 to 88. In this, during that 6 year period, this thing Tariq-e-Alfi was constructed, or let's just say compiled. Which of the following manuscript contains miniature paintings? The Tariq-e-Alfi manuscript contains miniature paintings, reveals a sense of realism and authenticity witnessed or experienced by the painters themselves. So Tariq-e-Alfi, this was composed, or this was kind of let's just say created manuscript containing miniature paintings, reveals a sense of realism and authenticity witnessed or experienced by the painters themselves. Tariq-e-Alfi. Moving on to the next question: the subject matter of Hamznama is a painting. Hamznama is painting. The subject matter of Hamznama is painting. The only type of Jaigir which could not be transferred, again we have seen that Watan Jaigir, hereditary Jaigir, Watan Jaigir could not be transferred, except Khidmat Jaigir, Malkiyat Jaigir, Tan Jaigir can be transferred, but then Watan Jaigir cannot be transferred. It's a hereditary. During the reign of which great Mughal was Tobago introduced in India? Tobago was introduced in India in 1605 by the Portuguese, and it was during the Mughal Emperor Jahangir. So Mughal Emperor Jahangir, during the Mughal Emperor Jahangir's period, this Tobago was introduced in India. 1605 Portuguese, they introduced Tobago in India during the rule of Jahangir. Which of the following mosques, not mosquito, mosque rather, which of the following mosque of the Mughal is also known as the Pearl Mosque? Moti Masjid Agra is known as the Pearl Mosque. Moti Masjid of Agra is also known as the Pearl Mosque. Moti Masjid of Agra known as the Pearl Mosque, and this was constructed by Shah Jahan 1653. So Pearl Mosque, Moti Masjid Agra, this was constructed during 1653. So Moti Masjid Agra, this was constructed during Shah Jahan's time 1653, and it is also known as the Pearl Mosque. Moving on to the next question, whom of the following Mughal minister was the Paymaster General as well? Paymaster General Mir Bakshi is also known as the Paymaster General. Which among the following Mughal ministers? Basically, Mir Bakshi, Mughal minister, was the Paymaster General as well. Mir Bakshi, Mughal minister was the Paymaster General as well. Who among the following nobles of Akbar was killed by Afghan rebel in one of Mughal campaigns to suppress them? Birbal. Raja Birbal was murdered or killed. Who are the following noble? Raja Birbal, one of the nobles of the Akbar, was killed by the Afghan rebel in one of the Mughal campaigns to suppress them. Raja Birbal was killed. Moving on to next question, which Vijayanagara ruler sent an embassy to China? Vijayanagara ruler Bukka the First. Vijayanagara ruler Harihara Bukka, the one established Vijayanagara Empire. So Vijayanagara ruler sent an embassy to China was Bukka the First. Vijayanagara ruler Bukka the First sent an embassy to China. Moving on to the next question, every pearl in the royal crown is but the crystallized drop of blood fallen from the tearful eyes of the poor peasant. Who made this statement? Amir Khusrau, Tote Hind, written by Amir Khusrau. He was actually referred to as Tote Hind, parrot of India. So Khusrau is the one who made this statement. Amir Khusrau is the one who made this statement. Every pearl in the royal crown is but the crystallized drop of the blood fallen from the tearful eyes of the poor peasants. Amir Khusrau made this statement. Who introduced the famous Persian festival Nowruz? Balban is the one who introduced Persian festival Nowruz. Persian festival Nowruz was introduced by Balban. Balban introduced Persian festival Nowruz. Moving on to the next question, the famous Jain temple Dilwara was built by Solankis were the one who made a famous Jain temple at Dilwara. Famous Jain temple at Dilwara was built by Solankis. 11th to 13th century in Gujarat. 11th to 13th century Gujarat is where this Jain temple Dilwara was constructed. We have read extensively about this. So the famous Jain temple at Dilwara was built in 11th to 13th century Gujarat by the Solankis. Which of one of the following are the later foreign immigrants like the Hunas who came after the fall of the imperial Guptas identified? Rajputas. So basically, after the fall of the Rajputas, the foreign immigrants like the Hunas who came after the fall of the Rajputa, the imperial Guptas are identified as Rajputas. So after the fall of the imperial Guptas, some of the foreigners came, immigrants like the Hunas, they came. So after the fall of the imperial Guptas, Hunas they came, and they are later identified as Rajputs. Moving on to the next, who of the following Rajputs were the first to voluntarily submit to Akbar? Kachavas were the first, they voluntarily submit to Akbar. Whom of the following Rajput were the first to voluntarily submit to Akbar? Whom of the following Rajput were the first to voluntarily submit to Akbar? Was Kachavas. Kachavas were the Rajputs were first to voluntarily submit to Akbar. Moving on to the next question, whom of the following Englishmen was given the title Khani Jahan? Hawkins was given William Hawkins. William Hawkins was given the title Khani Jahan. The Englishman William Hawkins was given the title Khani Jahan. Khan by Jahangir, not Khani Jahan, but Khan by Jahangir. Actually, not Khani Jahan. Mistake. So who among the following Englishmen were given the title Khan by Jahangir? Khan title was given to Hawkins by Jahangir. So Jahangir gave the title Khan to Hawkins. William Hawkins was given the title Khan by Jahangir. Moving on to the next question, who was the founder of the Gajapati dynasty of Orissa? Kapilendra is the founder of the Gajapati dynasty of Orissa. Kapilendra was the founder of the Gajapati dynasty of Orissa. Again, Gajapati dynasty of Orissa was founded by Kapilendra. Who among the following? Hawkins was the Englishman, was given the title Khan by Jahangir. Khan title was given to Hawkins by Jahangir, Mughal Emperor Jahangir. Who was the founder of the Sultan of Madurai? Jalaluddin Ahsan, A-H-S-N Ahsan was the one. A-H-S-N Ahsan. So who was the founder of the Sultan of Madurai? Sultan of Madurai was founded by Jalaluddin Ahsan. Jalaluddin Hasan was the one who founded Sultanate of Madurai. Sultanate of Madurai was established by Jalaluddin Hasan. Jalaluddin Hasan was the one who founded Sultanate of Madurai. Moving on to the next question. Who built the Gold Gumbaz at Bijapur, famous for the world's second largest tomb and the Whispering Gallery? Whispering Gallery and the second largest tomb in the world. This was constructed by Muhammad Adil Shah. Gold Gumbaz at Bijapur was established by or constructed by Muhammad Adil Shah. So Muhammad Adil Shah constructed Gold Gumbaz at Bijapur, famous for the world's second largest tomb and Whispering Gallery. Muhammad Adil Shah. Moving on to the next question. Which Sufi saint adopted yogic breathing exercise and was called Siddhar Perfect? Nizamuddin Auliya. He was the one who Sufi saint. Nizamuddin Auliya. Nizamuddin Auliya, the Sufi saint, adopted yogic breathing exercise and was called Siddhar Perfect. Who wrote Gitawali, Kavitawali and Vinaya Patrika? Tulsidas is the one who wrote Gitawali, Kavitawali and Vinaya Patrika. So who wrote all this? Gitawali, Kavitawali and Vinaya Patrika. This was written by Tulsidas. What is Astavana Vijayanagar? What is Astavana Land Revenue Department? Astavana is a land revenue department of Vijayanagar Empire. Oh, Astavana is what? Astavana is a land revenue department of Vijayanagar Empire. Astavana is a land revenue department of Vijayanagar Empire. Astavana land revenue department of Vijayanagar Empire. Astavana. Moving on to the next question. City of Nagalapur was built by Krishnadevaraya. Krishnadevaraya is the one who built the city Nagalapura. City of Nagalapura was built by Krishnadevaraya. Krishnadevaraya built the city of Nagalapura. City of Nagalapura was built by Krishnadevaraya. Moving on to the next question. During whose reign did Vijayanagara came into the conflict with Orissa for the first time? Devaraya II. Devaraya II's time. During the reign of Devaraya II, Vijayanagara came into conflict with Orissa for the first time. During the reign of Vijayanagara II, Devaraya II actually. During the rule of Devaraya II, Vijayanagara came into conflict with Orissa for the first time. During the rule of Devaraya II, Vijayanagara came into conflict with the Orissa for the first time. During the reign of Devaraya II, Vijayanagara came into conflict with the Orissa for the first time. Moving on to the next question, 2014, few more questions remaining. Which of the following work was not done by the Amir Khusrau? Amir Khusrau autobiography, Timur, that was not. So, Diwal Rani Khisli, this was by Amir Khusrau. Nushipi and Kurin-u-Sadin, Nushipi and Diwal Rani Khisli, Nushipi, Diwal Rani Khisli, Nushipi and Kurin-u-Sadin, Nushipi and Diwal Rani Khisli. This all created by this all work was done by Amir Khusrau. Kurin-u-Sadin, Nushipi and Diwal Rani Khisli. Then which is not work by Amir Khusrau, like autobiography of Timur, that is the Tuzuki Timuri. This work was not done by Amir Khusrau. So this is autobiography. Tuzuki Timuri is autobiography of Timur. It's autobiography. He's kind of written by Timur himself. So Tuzuki Timuri is autobiography of Timur. So the work by Amir Khusrau would be Diwal Rani Khisli, Nushipi, Kurin-u-Sadin, Nushipi and Diwal Rani Khisli. Moving on to the next question. Vallabhacharya was the most distinguished preacher of the Krishna Bhakti cult actually. Krishna cult. Vallabhacharya was the most distinguished preacher of the Krishna cult. Janam Sakhi is the biography of Guru Nanak. Janam Sakhi is the biography of Guru Nanak. Janam Sakhi is the biography of Guru Nanak. Who translated Atharva Veda into Persian language during the Mughal period? Haji Ibrahim Sirhindi is the one. Sirhindi. So Haji Ibrahim Sirhindi is the one who translated Atharva Veda into Persian language. Haji Ibrahim Sirhindi is the one who translated Atharva Veda into Persian languages. Haji Ibrahim Sirhindi. Who built? Which Sultan of Bengal built Madrasa in Mecca and Medina? Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah. The Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah is the one. So which Sultan of Bengal? The Sultan of Bengal, Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah is the one. Sultan of Bengal, Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah is the one who built madrasas in Mecca and Medina. So Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah is the one who built madrasas in Mecca and Medina. Ghiyasuddin Azam Shah is the one who built madrasas in Mecca and Medina. Moving on to the next question. Which general of Aurangzeb conquered Ahom kingdom in the eastern India? Ahom kingdom, Mir Jumla, he is the general of Aurangzeb. Mir Jumla is the general of Aurangzeb to have conquered Ahom kingdom in the eastern India. Mir Jumla is the general of Aurangzeb to have conquered Ahom kingdom in the eastern India. And that was the last question, and here we are done.